It seems like a contradiction, but sometimes the best way to escape a financial mess isn't by cutting costs. It's by spending more. The Miami Dolphins have been here before. Last offseason, they took a tight salary cap situation and twisted it in their favor, restructuring the contracts of Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa to create immediate relief. The trade-off? A future price tag that will come crashing down hard in a couple of years. But that's the nature of the game now. Teams don't panic about salary cap issues 3 years from now. They manipulate the numbers, push problems forward, and keep the championship window open for as long as possible. Miami has already freed up some space by moving on from a few veterans, but that's barely a dent in the grand scheme of things. If they want real flexibility, they have to go beyond simple roster cuts. They need to extend key players, restructure deals, and make the financials work in their favor. Ironically, that means spending more to create the room they need. Jalen Phillips is a perfect example of why this approach makes sense. He's been hit with brutal injury luck. First an Achilles tear in 2023, then an ACL tear in 2024. For some players, back-to-back injuries like that could be a career-altering setback. But Phillips is different. He was back on the field less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles, and everything about his rehab suggests he's on track for another fast recovery. That's not just talent, that's work ethic, drive, and the kind of rare physical ability teams bet on. He's set to play the 2025 season on his fully guaranteed $13.25 million fifth-year option, a number that isn't terrible but could be significantly lower. Locking him into a long-term deal now, before he gets back on the field and reminds everyone just how dominant he is, could save Miami nearly $10 million while securing his future as a key piece of their defense. He and rookie Chop Robinson could form a deadly pass-rushing duo for years to come, but the Dolphins need to act before Phillips proves his worth again and drives up his price. Zach Sealer is another player who has outperformed his current deal. Miami extended him before the 2023 season, but that contract is already looking outdated. Back-to-back 10-sack seasons as an interior lineman don't happen often, and they definitely don't happen for guys making mid-tier money. His cap hit jumps to $12.4 million in 2025, a significant increase from previous years. By giving him another extension now, the Dolphins could lower that number by nearly $6 million while keeping one of their most consistent defensive forces happy and locked in for the long haul. Bradley Chubb's situation is more complicated. His contract is a financial headache. He's set to count $28.66 million against the cap next season, the second highest number on the team behind only Tua Tagovailoa. For a player coming off a torn ACL who didn't return in 2024, that's a massive commitment. Miami has two options: move on or restructure. A post-June 1 cut or a trade would save $19.55 million, but if they want to keep him, they need to find a way to bring that number down. An extension could lower his cap hit by nearly $15 million, but that would require a belief that he can return to his peak form. The Dolphins have to make a choice. Either Chubb is part of their long-term plans, or he isn't. There's no middle ground. Terron Armstead presents a different kind of challenge. On the surface, extending a 33-year-old tackle with injury concern seems like a bad idea. But in reality, it might be the best short-term solution. His current deal carries massive cap hits, $22.8 million in 2025 and $22.1 million in 2026. If Miami moves on from him after June 1st, they'd free up $15 million. But they'd also be left relying on Patrick Paul, a 2024 second-round rookie, to protect Tua Tagovailoa's blind side. That's a gamble they might not be willing to take. Extending Armstead would create an immediate $10 million cap savings, while giving them time to develop a long-term replacement at left tackle. It's not a perfect solution, but in the short term, it might be the only real option. Jordan Brooks is a surprising name to consider for an extension, but it's not without precedent. Miami has done this before. Jalen Ramsey's deal was adjusted just a year after acquiring him, proving that the Dolphins are willing to rethink contracts if it benefits the team's financial situation. Brooks was a key piece of Anthony Weaver's defense in 2024, proving to be a reliable run defender and an effective blitzer. His cap hit jumps to $11.1 million in 2025 and $10.1 million in 2026, but Miami could trim those numbers by extending him now. A simple restructure could free up over $6 million, giving the team even more financial breathing room. The reality is that every move Miami makes right now carries serious consequences. This isn't about surviving the 2025 salary cap crunch. It's about keeping this roster competitive for as long as possible. Every extension, every restructure, every gamble on a player's future health is about sustaining a winning window in an AFC that isn't getting any easier.